Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class today is sponsored by and dedicated in honor of Sammy and Michaela in celebration of their marriage. May they be blessed always with all the best. Mabruk, all their friends at CBE, aka AEJSS. What's it called? Many people have told me they were very happy to hear about the happy news on the Breakfast in the Class. So Azakabaru, people who've never met you now also want to know. They also want to meet you and Michaela. This is going to be we're going to add a tourist destination to New York City. You can stop by 66th on the corner. Okay, Breakfast in the Class also sponsored by Simon Simatov, dedicated in honor of our new generation Chazan Eliyahu Levi, who is learning so beautifully from his masterful father Shmuel Levi, our beautiful and amazing Chazan. The week of Breakfast in the Class dedicated in loving memory of Sinai Torah Chosh Baksh. Did I say that right? Chosh Baksh, Lilui Nishmat Sinai Torah Bat Shukrola, sponsored by her son Maurice Chosh. The month of Kobru is dedicated in honor of Rachel Sayed, donated by her children. The week of Kobru is in honor of David E. Ash and his substantial capacity to go today and every day by his good friend Murray Dayan. And finally, dedicated in loving memory of Miss Lily Safrli Nishmat Leah Batchana. Her philanthropy reached so many throughout the entire world. And also by Emmanuel Zara in honor of Rabbi Farhi and Rabbi Mizrahi for all the beautiful Torah and Chesed that they do throughout the community. My friends, Parashat Noach has many different aspects to it that are not only relatable to the time of Noach and the experience of the flood, but are relevant as well to many of us as well. And I just wanted to maybe touch on one of the ideas that we find specifically over there. Our rabbis tell us on the pasuk that the Torah, in relating why the world got to such a negative place, the Torah tells us, Ki yishchit kol basar et darko al haaretz. The people had become incredibly corrupt. Ki yishchit kol basar et darko al haaretz. God says, I'm so sad. He's deeply saddened to his heart. God says, Nichamti al asher asiti. I feel bad that I even created humanity. Okay, sounds like humanity really, is pretty bad. They're not winning any popularity contests in the heavens. Okay? And then when we come to our pasuk, the pasuk says to us that God tells Noach of his plans. Okay, after that introduction of how bad humanity was, the end of last week's parasha, God tells Noach his plans, and what does God say to Noach? Because everyone is corrupted. Vatimale haaretz Hamas mipinehem. The land was filled with Hamas from in front of them. Baruch Hashem, Hashem should bless us also, just like Hamas was wiped off the face of the earth once. Hamas should be wiped off the face of the earth again. Okay. You see, Vatimale haaretz Hamas. The world was filled with, what is Hamas? So, some of you will remember that just a short time ago, when we were beating our chests, we said, Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu, Hevinu, Yeshanu, Zadnu, Hamasnu. What does Hamasnu mean? Someone once asked me if Hamas has anything to do with hummus. Hummus. I said it has nothing to do with hummus, unless you steal the hummus. What does Hamasnu mean? Most people translate Hamasnu means to steal. That is incorrect. In fact, Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, we've done that one already. Been there, sinned that. So what does Hamasnu mean? Huh? Coerced. Nailed it. Shine on fire. Huh? It can be violence. It can be coercion. My friends, let me give you an example of Hamas. Hamas is, you have an item for sale. You have an item, it's not for sale. I come to you and I drive you absolutely crazy. I push you, I force you, I threaten you until you sell it to me. And then, after you sell it to me, under duress, I pay you. Did I pay you for the object? I paid you. But you didn't want to sell it. Selling something against your will is Hamas. Coercion. Hamas can mean, in general, it can mean violence. But my friends, our rabbis tell us that there was a very specific taking without permission that was going on in the time of the Mabul, which was actually not stealing. Or at least it wasn't defined as stealing. Why? The Gemara relates, a guy would go to the marketplace with a basket full of beans, and as he's walking with this basket full of beans, chickpeas, let's say, walks by, one guy takes one, pops in his mouth. I'm sure he made a beracha, very righteous guy. He had chickpeas. Next guy takes one, the next guy takes one. By the time the guy got to the marketplace, nothing left. Now, I remember thinking to myself when I learned this, that, okay, now I understand. This is what got God so angry. The guy, he's crying, he has no chickpeas left. He worked so hard to make this, to feed his family, and now he has nothing left because everyone took one. But the Gemara actually explains that the reason why this guy was taking one chickpea and the next guy one chickpea is because Bet Din is not niskak. They do not sit on a case which is less than shaveh peruta, which is less than a minimal amount of money. A person would say to themselves, I didn't steal something of value. Why? Because the minimal amount of value in the Jewish legal system is one shaveh peruta. If I took less than shaveh peruta, what did I take? Halachically, nothing. So even though I didn't steal chamasto, I took something against your will. You didn't want me to take it. I didn't steal. You have no recourse in Bet Din. I thought to myself, oh, now I get it. God is punishing the world. Why? Because look at the pain of this guy. He has no recourse to judgment. There's no way for him to get the money back. They're all laughing. He's crying. God has mercy on this guy who feels terrible about the fact that he has no chickpeas left and he can't get them back. That's how I understood the case. But actually, I was reminded of another case only yesterday when I was teaching class. There's a case that happened a little while ago, a guy that he committed the most incredible act of fraud. What did he do? He created a system whereby when a person made a transaction, they swiped their card, they made a withdrawal, it added 1 penny or half a penny to each transaction. So instead of $356.82, your bill came out to $356.83. First of all, who notices that? Second of all, who even cares? 1 penny. But he did it over hundreds of millions of transactions. I don't know if any of you remember this case. And true story. And the guy made fortunes of money. And number one, barely anybody noticed. But number two, even if you did notice, let's say the guy stole from me 100 times a penny. Tell me now to come add my name to the class action suit so I could sue him for $1. Forget it. It's not worth the hassle. He created a crime that nobody even cared about. My friends, I think that maybe this is what Rashi is referring to. Not the image of the guy sitting there with his basket and he has no chickpeas left. Hashem, please protect me. The Bet Din won't even listen to my case. That's not what's going on over here. It's not the great sorrow that picks up and makes God notice this action. It's the fact that there is a loophole society that is being created. That there's a situation where people could figure out a way to do the wrong thing, and it's not even the wrong thing in their eyes. Now the heinousness of this, and just pay attention, it doesn't say that God brought the flood because somebody stole $100 million. It doesn't say that there was a Bernie Madoff-like scheme where hundreds of millions of dollars were stolen. And God saw, wow, what a big act of theft. Rather, what does it say that God saw? What a small act of theft. Why would a smaller act of theft be worse than a larger act of theft? And the answer, my friends, is Ki hishchit kol basar et darko. They'd become corrupted. When a person does something that is wrong, it might be that the person is not completely corrupted. It might be that they were tempted. It might be that they were ensnared. It might be that they were entrapped by the Yetzer Hara. It might be that they were convinced. It might be, you know what true hashchata is? Hashchata is when you see what's happening and you don't care. You don't even notice it. Hashchata is when you could look around at things that take place on the streets of your city and say, yeah, that's how cities work. When you become callous to the lack of justice, when you no longer visualize or see that something which is wrong, at that stage, there is no redemption because there is no teshuvah because you don't even think it's wrong. Sometimes when I have conversations with people in this city about the state of political affairs, I feel this way. Well, that's the price. That's the price you have to pay. When it comes to obscene nature, the obscene level of crime that's going on in our city. And we know where to draw it back to. We know. Well. What do you mean, well? Someone was pushed onto the tracks. I went with my daughter the other night. I went out, we took a subway. Think of the fact that I'm sitting there with my daughter, minding my own business, not starting up with anybody, not calling out any racist, misogynist, sexist, bigamist, polygamist comments. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm not telling anyone about their lifestyle. I'm not saying anything about a person who's, the alternative. I didn't say one word. I'm sitting with my daughter. And as soon as we walked into the train station platform, what did I do? I found the place against the back wall furthest from the tracks. What kind of city do we live in when that's how you have to think? I'm not saying anything to anybody, not judging anybody, not a word out of my mouth. I'm sitting with my daughter, having a nice time, going on a subway, but I have to make sure that I have a good spot. Where's a good spot by the train? As far away from the tracks, because someone might push you onto the tracks. Someone might play that game, right? The knockout game, where they video walking up to some unsuspecting person, punching their lights out, knocking them unconscious from behind. Person you never met. And we are willing to look away from justice for some other value. We're willing to make believe like that's not even a big deal. We're willing to say that there are certain kinds of racism which are okay, and certain kinds of racism that are not okay. In this city, does the city truly care about racist hatred against Asians? It doesn't. When anti-Semitism in the world largely is ignored, you know why they're making such a big deal right now over Kanye? Because finally, someone is saying something about anti-Semitism. People don't get canceled for Jew hatred usually. It's only towards another racial discrepancy. Right? It's a strange thing. My friends, the world, we as people, a city, a country, could be corrupt, not when they do the wrong thing. People do the wrong thing. We're human beings. That's not corruption. Corruption is when you could look someone in the eye and say, I'm doing nothing wrong. What'd I take? I took something worth less than. That's hishchit kol basar dakom al haaretz. What comes out of this, my friends, is a monumental concept. The worst sins are the smallest sins. The gray area, that's the most dangerous thing for a person. My friends, again, I hate to say this. I have people all the time say, Rabbi, I don't eat non-kosher meat out. And I say, Hazaku Baruch. But I eat salads. What could be a problem with salad? You tell the guy what the problem is with the salad. There's bugs. It's not like there might be bugs. Guarantee, in any salad that wasn't checked, a big leafy salad with kale in it, you're eating a bug. Guarantee. If it was not checked, if it was not triple washed. Guaranteed. Why? Which is worse? Which is worse? Salad. You'd think to yourself, meat's not kosher meat, how could I eat taref? I agree with you, by the way. It's great that people are doing it. Don't take this message and think to yourself, oh, if I'm eating salad, I may as well have the steak. No. Hazaku Baruch, that you're doing something. And it's a great place to start. I love it. But I don't think salad is worse because there's more isurim, like you said. Which, by the way, you're right. Each bug that you eat is 6 averot. because it's mentioned 6 times in the Torah. Okay? I'm not telling you salad is worse because there's more isurim involved. I'm telling you salad's worse because you think it's okay. You hear me? This is not, do not decide, okay, well, if I'm having salad, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying have the salad. Yeah, someone once said to me, Rabbi, if I have salad anyway, it's not kosher. Could I put the meat on top of it? That's not kosher. I said, why would you say that? He says, I learned in one of the classes, ein isur chal al isur. You can't have one isur on top of another isur. I said, that is not what that means. I always feel terrible. By the way, someone leaves in the middle of my class. I don't mind if someone leaves in the middle of the class for my ego. Baruch Hashem, I have a very healthy sense of self. I'm okay if someone walks out in my class, whether because they didn't like something or because they had to go. I don't mind. The thing I'm always nervous about is when you say something and you know the guy walking out is not hearing the end of what you said, and you know he's going to walk back home and say, you know what the rabbi said today in the synagogue? The rabbi said I should have non-kosher meat if I'm having salad. Not all salads were created equal, by the way. You have a tomato salad, right, with just tomatoes and onions. That's 1,000 times better than having a salad with any leafy vegetable, because there aren't generally bugs in tomatoes and onions. They don't need to be checked. But my friends, I want you to understand this again. Allah, God bless you, whatever level you're on, we love you. We love you for what you're doing. Everyone is growing at their own pace. Grow slowly. Maybe not like a snail's pace because of the subject at hand, but grow slowly, grow consistently, beautiful. However, we cannot be living a situation where we cannot admit that something is wrong. Admit that it's wrong and say, I'm getting there. You know, Rabbi Noach Weinberg used to say all the time, one of the most important things for a person who's growing in religion, because many people did not grow up so religious. And by the way, this is as relevant for religious people as it is for people who did not grow up religious or people who are growing. Rav Noach used to say all the time, it's not all or nothing. Let's say a person doesn't keep Shabbat. They can't keep Shabbat. It's still valuable if they keep Shabbat day, even if they didn't keep Shabbat night. Is that an ideal? No. Shabbat evening is part of Shabbat. I could say that that's wrong. I'm getting there. Let's say someone is going to go out clubbing Friday night. Their whole life, Friday night, they go to the club. They go out, they do whatever they do. It's still valuable for them to light Shabbat candles or to make Yiddush. It's a mitzvah. It's not all or nothing. If a person has some mitzvot they cannot do, okay, you still have other mitzvot that you could do. It's not all or nothing. But my friends, when we say it's not all or nothing, we don't mean it's not all or nothing here. We mean it's not all or nothing here in the actions. Let's say a person believes in half of the Torah. Let's say a person thinks, okay, I believe that God created heaven and earth, but he has a partner. Right? So I believe in Hashem, but I also believe in Avodah Zarah. When it comes to the mind, a person, in order to be a Torah true Jew, needs to be all on board. Okay? So part of the process of growth is recognizing something. Now, I'll give you an example. Let's say, imagine. I know some guys, they're really, really good on what they eat. The whole meal, the guy is telling me, oh, we're going to have the meat, we're not going to have the French fries. The French fries is fattening. That's fattening. It has breadcrumbs on the schnitzel. We have grilled chicken. The guy's great during the meal. I'm looking at this guy, wow. Look at the level of, what's it called? Of self-control he has. Unbelievable. I was so impressed. Then came for dessert, the guy shoving chocolate in his mouth. Faster than you could say, Nestle, Hershey's. And I'm looking at the guy, I'm like, who are you? Where's the guy who was here for dinner? Yeah, you understand? Some people, they have a weakness for dinner. For me, for dessert. My weakness, by the way, if I'm going out to a restaurant, if there's more room in my stomach, I'm putting another bite of steak in there. I'm not saving that for chocolate melted something, which is basically raw chocolate cake. Okay? I'm not doing that. For me, my weakness is actual food, let's say. For someone else, their weakness might be the dessert part of the evening. You know what the most dangerous thing for either of us is? To not recognize that our diet has anything to do with our health. If you think to yourself that chocolates are just okay, dessert is just fine, that's going to become a problem for you. You're going to develop high blood sugar. That's just going to happen. Dark chocolate's okay. Someone's living in the gray area. My friends, beware mitzvot averot. But beware something even more sinister, even more dangerous. And that is, beware when you can tell yourself that something is okay. Instead of using the word okay, repeat after me, I'm not there yet. Why is it so important for religious people? First of all, because one of the crazy things that people who did not grow up religious is, they think that religious people do everything right. If only rabbis did everything right. If only Nevi'im did everything right. En tzaddik ba'aretz asher yaseh tov lo yachta. No one's perfect. So a person who did not grow up religious, who finds difficulty in one of their mitzvot, feels bad when they've done something wrong, and says, you know what, I'm a failure. I may as well just write off this whole thing. I'm never going to get there. That's not right. As much as you could do, that's what you should do. That's beautiful that that's what you're doing. But religious people have the same battle. The yeshiva boy who doesn't come to pray in the morning because he sleeps in. Okay? The seminary girl who's down on herself because she speaks Lashon Hara or because she struggles with tzniut. What do they tell themselves? I wish they said that to themselves. They say, I'm a failure. And why should I even bother if I'm a failure anyway? That is the number one trick of the Yetzer Hara. When you learn the Yetzer Hara's tricks, that this is what he's trying to do to you, call him out. Recognize it. The Sifrei Musar say something unbelievable, and we'll end with this. In Devarim, the Pasuk says, beware the gods, the fake gods that you bow to. The gods, shikutzehem v'gilulehem, the disgusting, abominable gods that there are out there, the practices of idol worship. They used to slaughter their children, passing them through fire for Molech. Markulis, they would wipe their feces on the Avodah Zarah, go to the bathroom in front of it, reveal themselves. All sorts of, horrific, Avodah Zarah. Shikutzehem gilulehem. Disgusting. Etz va'eved, wood and stone. Kesef v'zahav, silver and gold. The Chachamim explain that when a person starts off doing the Averah, what does it come across like? Shikutzehem gula, it's disgusting. The first time you do something wrong, you're disgusted with it. You're disgusted with yourself. The second time you do it, what do you say to yourself? Etz, even, all right, it's not great. Etz va'even, but wood, stone, middle of the road. Eventually, zahav v'chesef. It's gold and silver. It's ideal. Rabbi, I didn't come to Shachari, but you know what? It's a good thing I don't come to shul. You know why? Sometimes I come to shul, it's negative. I feel bad. I'm there for the whole day. I feel like a bad taste in my mouth. The Judaism. Rabbi, it's much better for my Judaism when I don't come to shul. If you're listening to the audio, I'm rolling my eyes. I don't have a sound for eye rolling that you could hear on the audio. By the way, you know what the worst part of that is? It's not coming to shul. That happens. People are tired, people don't feel well. It happens. People, don't come to shul, fine. The problem begins when not only does it become not a bad thing, then it moves to a middle of the road thing. Then you know what? You find a way to justify it. Rabbi, you know why I didn't give the guy tzedakah? Not because I'm stingy. Not because I'm impatient and the guy annoyed me. I didn't give him tzedakah because how else is he going to learn to make a living and support himself? Look at me, this righteous guy. You know what my mitzvah is? I'm going to come to God and Shemayim. God, you need to reward me. Why? Because I didn't give tzedakah. Zahav v'chesed. I've turned it into gold. You lose your temper, scream at your kids. First time, you feel terrible. How did I do that as a father? I yelled at my kid, I lost my temper. The next time, it's like, all right, look, I'm only human. Third time, how else is he going to learn? A father needs to yell and scream at his kids and call them names. Otherwise, how else are they going to be disciplined? Shikutzehem, gululehem, etz va'even, kesef v'zahav. You know why God had to destroy the world in Noach? Because the world was living in a perpetual shade of gray, where they managed to answer everything that they did and make everything not just, I'll get there, I'll grow, I'm not there yet. Not just, okay, you win some, you lose some. But they turned it into gold. May Hashem bless us, Be'ezrat Hashem, to have the most beautiful perspective of all, the perspective of truth upon ourselves, upon our own actions. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen.